inside the bag so they don't cause any problems. And then again, use a sanitary thumb to wipe off the excess mycelium off the sides of the bags, and then case. And then I'll let them colonize until it's either fully colonized on top. I'm going to try some experiments again with that, or just partially colonized on top. Now, before if you remember, I was only sprinkling the casing mix layer, and now I'm thinking the full casing on top is what you want. No sawdust exposed. I think the only reason I got benefit from that was the peat moss was causing problems. So, even though these ones I never missed it at all, some of them are still making a little bit of vermiculite, but it's not very dark in color, and there's not a whole lot of it, so I'm not worried. I just won't miss it. And I'm gonna leave the bags in the bins until they start pinning, because the bins add a little bit extra humidity fluctuation protection, just like extra walls, and that way hopefully it'll create a good even pin set, and I won't get a lot of pins around the edges of the bags like I was having before. So I really think this is the way I'm going to do it. That's going to work, give me success. Plus, if I never have to mist down here, which in the summertime it's been raining, so there's actually a very light fog down here. I don't know if you can see it through the camera, but I'm sure come winter time when I have dry air coming in, I can just add 2 or 3 more pond fogging units and really increase the amount of water being used. I probably go through about 5 to 6 gallons of water a day, so it's really putting it out. But it's a large space down here, and of course the more blocks, the more you fill it up, the more residual humidity will be produced. But also too, since I've kind of gone over the halfway mark of space in here when I'm filled up, that's why I'll have to eventually run those 2 exhaust fans both on high and really suck the air in here, and I'll need that larger filter box too by that time. So let's check in when these start to pin. Hopefully I won't get any problems. I'm not going to mist them, and let's cross our fingers and hope that this works out just fine. So in the effort to try to solve the problems with the tubs where the centers were drying out, I was constantly increasing the humidity, but that now is causing some extra problems. I had a total of 8 pond fogging units running continuously, but now I've got my humidistat hooked back up, my Dayton humidistat that I was using before when I was doing the cottonseed hull logs, and I have it set to only turn everything on at 85% relative humidity. And what the high humidity was causing was a lot of these, especially that are fully colonized on top, I had to use a real thin metal spatula, you see here, to get right underneath the top of it and slice it off, like this one. And that's because it was getting little spots of green and black house mold on it, just from the constant high humidity. Interestingly enough, the mushrooms were still pinning through it, but obviously it would have caused some serious problems if I didn't take care of it. But you can see here, there's still a lot of these that have metabolite dripping off them. That's why I have them on their sides. But also too, you can see mushrooms and pinning going on even in the center of them. And then over here I have ones that are really going. I haven't misted these at all, but I'm thinking it's actually in my advantage to try to set things up so I only mist maybe once a day. See if I can get things tuned to that. Because ideally I was hoping that I wouldn't have to mist at all, but I think it's going to be too much of a problem keeping the humidity that high. And also too, it's beneficial to mist because if any bits of vermiculite get on the fruits, you can then rinse it down back on top of the casing. Because once your casing mix gets on top of the fruits, it gets a little bit harder to rub off of there. So now I have some bins that I'm just going to leave the top off, and nothing's growing through the casing mix yet. I'm going to see how it does just popping through the casing mix. And I still have a few that are growing through it. I haven't tried any where I let try to pin inside of it, just because I think that the only reason I was having success in that manner was I was doing it upstairs in the middle of winter where the surrounding air was dry enough to pull out all the extra humidity. Because now if I try to do that, it creates too much condensation on the inside of the lid and on the inside of the tub, and then gets the humidity too high again. Also, too, on my little chicken of the woods projects here I got going, I've had to remove the first bits of fruits because they got a little bit of mold on them too, so hopefully that'll turn out fine. So things are looking a lot better. Obviously these ones over here too, they don't have any ring of plastic around to protect them like the ones that I'm doing now. So hopefully they'll still be okay, but I'm going to try to get everything to a 1 day of misting schedule and see how things go with that. These three that have some king oysters growing off the perimeter and some coming up from the center, I took to the side over here and gave it a coating of mist, just enough that it didn't flood the top. But I'm still not misting anything. I'm trying to keep all the ones that are doing well all together so the humidity is buffered a bit better and don't get any fluctuations that dry anything out. Everything new that I'm putting over here with some patchy growth and vermiculite, I'm wiping the excess top off so I don't get any pins that form up on the top of the plastic. And you know too, I've noticed that the mycelium isn't trying to escape out of the plastic so bad and kind of grow together with the other bags. I think that might have been a sign too of too much nutrition in the casing mix, causing it to want to colonize heavy and search out for more food. But I've noticed that a lot of these have groups of pins coming right up through the vermiculite before they're forming on the actual layer of mycelium on top of the vermiculite. So I believe that the right way to go with these is just to put the casing mix on, make sure the casing mix is nice and moist, just as we've done. I don't get it so wet to a super saturated, but I get it good enough where it clumps up together. And then just make sure you have plenty of plastic ring around it. Keep it in the bins for some extra walls. And I'm going to let the pins just grow up through the casing mix. And then when they get large enough, well, probably too, when they start seeing pins, I'll take them out of the bins. And when the mushrooms get large enough, I'll probably mist them accordingly if I think they look dry. But if not, I'll just avoid misting and keep the humidity surrounding here at 85%. So let's check back in a few days and see how much progress we're making on all this. Well, as you can see, I'm making some progress. I actually have some mushrooms to harvest, but I've harvested a couple. And already pulled the remaining bits of stump off. Now what I'm doing over here is all these ones that are starting to fruit, I'm misting them once a day in the morning. Still trying to keep it a minimum of 85% humidity down here, although it's been rainy and warm for the past few days, so it's actually gone all the way up to 90, 95 down here. And that's probably one of the reasons that I was having problems. It's just too much humidity building up, and really nothing I can do about it if it's completely rainy outside other than work a system to pump the air from the house, which is drier down here, and filter it. But you can see all the ones that I've scraped the top off, that the top had some mold growing on the very outer portion of the mycelium. It's all pinning well, and as soon as I see the pins like this, I'll give it one mist a day and move it over here. So hopefully that'll work out. The ones that were fully colonized on top, still not doing too great. You can see some of the mushrooms are ill-formed. They might still abort, like these guys. But I might just go ahead and scrape the whole old mat of mycelium off there and give it a reset after I pick any mushrooms off of it. Just turn like this into this kind of landscape. And then all these ones that didn't get misted, but I still let partially colonize the top. They're still making some metabolite, but minimal problems. Any of them are making a whole bunch of it, I just tip on the side again. So I still think that letting the mycelium colonize the top isn't going to work as well. But the good news is that it is working, because here's some pins right there coming out. Hopefully that'll happen with all these too. Now, interestingly enough, these over here where I've just put the casing mix on and never put the lids on, some of them are well colonized on top a bit, but still a lot of casing exposed, while others are just deciding to pin between the casing. Now, I'm not really quite sure what makes the difference on how it wants to behave, whether maybe it was how thick I put the casing mix on there, or whether I had too much extra mycelium on the side of the bag, like over here where you can see it's pinning first on the mycelium sticking out. There's like another exposed bit over there. But still making a little bit of metabolite. Doesn't look bad though. And I can see some tiny pins coming in on all of them. So hopefully I'll get lots of success, and this will be the method that I choose to go along with. I've noticed another issue that I think the sawdust mixture is getting a little too wet, just because all my ingredients that sit in my garage have soaked up a little of the surrounding humidity in the air. So I decided to dial back my recipe, a quart of water a batch, starting this week. And hopefully that'll correct any over moisture problems, because I've had to throw a couple bags out that definitely weren't doing good and kind of pooled up with my metabolite in the bottom, which is a sure sign that the whole block is starting to fail. But hopefully all these where I've scraped the top will turn out well. You can see this one's starting to pin underneath. So we'll give it a few days, check in, and I want to really see how these are going to do. And hopefully I'll get a lot of success with this method.